this will be the last question in the back there.
I actually had just a couple questions. First of all, I'm out of the Minnesota School District, and there's rumors of the kindergarten going from half day to full day, and I don't know what you have in healthcare. What are you working independently or in conjunction with some other agencies, for example, the Puget Sound Health Alliance, or some of the hospitals or insurance companies, or do you work more independently?
So I'll answer your education part first. So that was just about the proposal of all-day kindergarten.
Correct.
Understand?
Yeah.
So we have done research on that. Again, Lee, what she looked at was the whole field of early education and how youngsters learn. This is 6 years old and younger. What she found in looking at studies that were not done by us, but research that was done on brain development and how children learn, found that the relationship with a teacher or a caregiver, developing interpersonal relationships, is the most important thing, not whether the child is in an institutional setting, in a school, in a daycare, at home. What she found was that as children develop connections and relationships with particular people, again, it's a parent or a teacher, that puts them in a position where they've made the neurological connections, the development, so that by age 6 or 7, they're prepared to enter into a formal classroom environment, say 1st or 2nd grade, and begin to learn how to read. Learning to read is the first skill that young children need, which most people know that. So she found that all-day kindergarten is not an automatic cure-all for every child. For some children it's a good idea, for some it isn't. So her policy conclusion was that automatically expanding the current public education system automatically down to younger ages as kind of an overall mandate would not necessarily serve the interests of every child. She found cases of where kids didn't even go to kindergarten. They were at home through their entire younger years, were enrolled in 1st grade, and were very successful. Other kids, if they went to preschool and kindergarten, that helped them, and then they were ready to learn. So it really depends on the child.
And your second question on healthcare dealt with our alignment with other organizations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we are totally independent. The organizations that we do align with, it's not a 100% sort of thing. I mentioned the Association of Washington Businesses. We don't agree with everything they say. We don't agree with everything the D say, the R say, and so forth. Like Dan mentioned, we're a 501c3, so we're totally independent.
But that being said, we do partner with them on different projects, and like our healthcare conference, insurance companies sponsor our conference, or Puget Sound Health Alliance that you mentioned. Roger and I met with them before, and they sponsor our healthcare conference. So even though it's nothing formal, we definitely work with them, and we have a healthcare advisory board. Some of those groups are on our healthcare advisory board. So there is an interaction and a connection. I saw one more person had a hand when I said no more questions. One more. I'll take one more. Yeah.
Do you get any traction really with lead costs of lead buildings? That's one question. Second, do you have or will you have a paper on the Employee Privacy Act prior to next session?
When you say do we get traction, are you asking if people actually listen to the research that we present?
Yes.
Yeah, it's slow, but I can tell you that there is a growing number of folks who recognize serious problems with it. So this year, the bill that I mentioned, which was the $3 billion green buildings bond, it did not pass. And when we presented our research, other groups would counter our research, and we would fire back. Ultimately, it just kept sort of going nowhere until the end of the session. There were other reasons, obviously, that bills don't pass, but clearly I think we played a role in that discussion. I can also tell you that every time one of my opinion pieces or something else is published, I get calls from architects and engineers who, something along this line. Hi Todd, I'm a engineer who's LEED certified, and what you said is absolutely correct. LEED doesn't save energy. I can't say this out loud because every time I do a LEED project, I add $50,000 off the top for paperwork. But I just wanted to let you know that you're correct. I get a call like that every time I publish something. there is a growing recognition, and I will tell you actually the other interesting thing is I got a call in the last year from somebody in Cleveland, I got a call from somebody in New York, both of whom were environmentalists who read my piece and said, I'm very unhappy with LEED because we're not achieving the environmental goals that we're supposed to. So what you get is a coalition of people on the right who think this is a waste of money, and people on the left who say, if we're spending our money, maybe we should get some environmental benefit for it, and we're not. So I think that coalition is starting to emerge. And the one last thing I'll say on that is that when the Green Bonds Bill was proposed in the legislature this year, it was proposed as job creation, not as energy savings. Energy savings was, oh, we're also doing energy savings, but it was job creation. And so the fact that they have now had to emphasize that and are moving away from the environmental claims, I think indicates that it's getting some traction.
Yeah, the second part of your question, the Worker Privacy Act, we haven't put out a paper on that, and I didn't necessarily have plans to do a paper on that, but something that we haven't mentioned up here yet is that we also run a blog at WashingtonPolicyBlog.org, and that would be actually a perfect subject. I think I've mentioned it in the past, but that would certainly be a good subject for me to blog on. And so rather than spending a few weeks putting together a research paper, it's something I can take an afternoon to put some ideas down, maybe do some preliminary research or quick research, and put that on our blog. So yeah, that's actually, I'll take your suggestion and I'll put something on our blog by next session addressing that issue.
Well, great. You can see why we're having so much impact in Olympia around the state, because we have a great research staff. And it's for people like you that we owe thanks, because your support makes all this possible. I also want to point out 3 of our other staff members that are with us tonight. Katie Baring is our development director, who helps raise the money for our 501c3 organization. Rich Ray is with our communications department, and Brandon Housekeeper runs our Washington Votes website. I think a lot of you know about Washington Votes. It's a great tool for you to follow legislative action during the session. And it's a project, it's one of our 7 senators, a project of the Washington Policy Center at WashingtonVotes.org. So with that, I want to conclude the evening. It's just about 7 o'clock, and to thank you again for all that you do to make our work possible. We are making a difference, and it's because of your support. And I hope that if you're not a supporter, that you'll consider joining tonight. You can fill out the form in your folders and give it to one of our staff members this evening. Or you can take home the folder and return it with you. And we'll make sure you get a copy of this new book by Scott Oakey. And if you are a donor, thank you. And we hope you'll renew this year. It really is important to us. And we're thrilled to be down here in Tacoma, and we'll be back again. Thanks for coming.